Was there a change? Like, what was the impact of adding in the retreat from both groups? So these were the results. Satisfaction with life. The group that just had the workshop, satisfaction with life, went up, and it went up significantly. So that's pretty exciting. Just the classroom learning increased satisfaction with life. But if you look at adding in the retreat, it went up 4.63 times more. Well-being measured the WEM WBS. Again, the control group, it went up, just the classroom learning went up 2.3. That's really good news. But again, it went up 3.67 times more adding in the retreat. I also looked at depressive symptoms. Luckily for the positive psychology workshops only, it went down, even though it was an after-school 3-hour course about. But the retreat decreased depressive symptoms 4.64 times more, and that was significant where it wasn't significant in decreasing it just with the workshops only. So again, this shows that the retreat had an amplifying effect, but it still doesn't answer and let me know what is it about the retreat that applies. And this is the thing, there's not a lot of randomized control group studies as to what it is that works or doesn't work. That, hey, let's teach about self-talk, let's have a story, let's not have a story, which one works? Which one works better with randomized control group studies like that? So how can we best apply positive psychology skills to create behavior change? And this is what's called pedagogical content knowledge. I know a lot of you are teachers and are probably familiar with it, but basically what pedagogical content knowledge is not just what to teach, but how do we teach it? And that's what we're also going to be exploring in this module, is figuring out what are the best practices? What are the ways to best teach this stuff to create behavior change? And this is the thing. Is it similar for all positive psychology skills or concepts, audiences, coaches, or instructors? Like, I don't know. Perhaps this program worked because it was me leading this, me leading the retreat, where if Gloria taught the same type of stuff, it would have a different impact based on her, or based on the audience, or based on the skills or concepts that we are applying. So the reason why I share this is good research. I won an award at IPA for this research, and I didn't even bother trying to get this published just because it seemed like a lot of work, and I'm a practitioner. I got my dissertation. I was good to go. But there's not going to be a lot of randomized control group studies to do this. So what do? Do we just not apply the stuff? Do we just kind of fake it? So we're still figuring it out. The good news, though, is that we have a group of about 25 to 30 people who are heavily invested in applying positive psychology skills and concepts, who also likely have some experience of either having coaches, teachers, or, executive coaches that have taught things that have made a difference to their well-being or to their performance. So the other thing that we're going to do through Module 2 is tie into that research. Tie in and use the research from each of our experiences to help inform us as to what works or what doesn't work. Because truly, we're writing the pedagogical content knowledge of how to write this stuff. We're the people who are studying it. We're the people who are looking at it. So we're going to learn from one another what are the things that work, what are the things that don't work, so that we can build our knowledge how to best apply this stuff. So we're going to be doing experiential research. And you can read here what experiential research is. But basically the idea is we're going to look at our own experiences of people, either other people applying positive psychology skills or concepts to enhance our well-being, or that worked, or our experiences in teaching this stuff to other people. And we're going to share with one another what worked, what hasn't worked, discuss with one another, challenge one another, and really try to figure out what are the ingredients that help us learn what works or what doesn't work in terms of this. So the research is each of us together basically figuring it out by sharing our stories, sharing what we know and what we have found didn't work, and consolidating that research to come up with what at least is our well-informed knowledge of what it is that enables us to teach positive psychology constructs and skills to create behavior change. So this is the way this assignment is going to work. So week one, you're going to write a personal high point experience paper. This isn't going to be graded. You will put it at the end of your group paper. But basically, you're going to post this to your message board, and each of you are to write 1 to 3 page paper describing what was a high experience that either you as an athlete or a coach learned an important concept or skill that enhanced your personal well being. It could be like a coach taught you something directly. It could be a skill that you learned in the classroom. It could be something that your father or mother taught you, or an aunt or uncle, or a pastor, whoever it might be. I want you to define as best as you can as what was that concept or lesson. I'll give you my example, which was a retreat that I went to in high school. And at the time, I would say, like, the concept was that people have your back, or like the concept of a team and team building. Later in life, I realized it was a concept called collective efficacy, which I'll get into later throughout this course. But as best you can, define what was that concept and lesson. Then I want you to describe how did it change your behavior then? How does it impact you today? Next, I want you to explore what was it about you, others, the environment, and how the lesson was conveyed that enabled it to be effective in enhancing your well-being. For me, in my experience with this, again, it was my high school football team. Our team really wasn't getting along, and there were two guys in my class who they just didn't seem to be into it. You know, they were kind of the troublemakers of the course. And we went on this retreat where it was a religious retreat. We had a new priest come to the school and required all the teams to do a retreat. But basically, the retreat was like about like we have each other's backs. Like people are quote unquote God is always there to protect you, to like have one another's backs. And everything that we did throughout that weekend helped us to either see past experiences where people had our backs, or how like we could be a benefit to each other going forward, whether through struggles, whether through good times. Everything that we did reinforced that belief that we were there. The thing that touched me though was hearing the stories of my two peers that I had problems with before, hearing their life stories and hearing some really difficult things that they went through, that they were struggling with at that time, that they really kind of needed people to be there for them in those moments. And we're kind of asking for help, and like seeing us as a team be there for them in that moment, each of them individually for different reasons. But like it really emphasized that skill in the moment. And they're now two of my best friends. They're people that I still talk to over 20 years later. So it really changed my life in that way. So basically, that's what you're going to do is tell a story like I just told you. You'll type it and put it on the message board. Well, you actually don't have to put it on the message board. You can share it through a Google Hangout or however it is that you want to share it. But make sure that you rate it this week. This isn't graded. Then what I want you to do, though, is to have a discussion as a group. So each of you have been put into groups. You'll see it in the Module 2 detailed syllabus. You also have a group message board that will enable you to like share or discuss what it is that you're going to do. But I really, really encourage you either have a group call. I highly recommend Google Hangouts to share these stories so that you can like really discuss, have someone just kind of type down what are the key themes that you're seeing. But I really recommend making this a core discussion, a group discussion. So what you're going to do as a group is find the core ingredients. Discuss with your group mates each person's high experience papers as well as failed approaches, and develop 2 lists. What worked? What did you find were the critical ingredients that enabled behavior change? For me, it was like being outside, like away as a group that enabled behavior change, giving each person the opportunity to share stories, and then see like in different ways, hearing story after story and evidence after evidence that reinforce that concept or belief that basically people are there that have my back, and we as a team can have each other's back throughout. Whether it was experiences in the past that might not have been related, how we saw each other as a resource or value, or us in the moment helping one another through difficult times of things that we were sharing through that. But also what has failed? What were approaches that have undermined behavior change, or things that you have seen that haven't worked? Maybe there are things that you've tried as a coach or an instructor Maybe there are things that you have sat through that really didn't work. So to list is what we want you to come up with as to what works and what didn't work. Also, compare what you found from your research to the readings and lectures provided. Each week, again, there's like a shorter reading to do. So take a look at those, compare, how that works as well as what I'm sharing with you here. Then you're going to have a group paper. So you put all that together in one group paper. There's only one paper per group, and it's basically your explanation of both lists and why your group picked each item and how your experiences were supported or contradicted by the readings and lectures applied. In the appendix, each of you must put your group paper. In the appendix of your group paper, each of you are to include each individual's high point experience paper. So I'll be taking a look at all of them there. And again, I strongly encourage you to use Google Hangouts. I really, really, really think it would be a much different experience if you could just find about an hour for all of you to hop on to either Google Hangouts or the phone so that you can share it with one another, especially video messaging would be much better, and make this a discussion. And then B, make this a working document. Make it to the point. Please don't, give me definitions or that kind of stuff. Like, all I want is nuts and bolts. What are the things that you have found work? And then after you guys hand this paper in, I'll go through basically what each group came up with during the week 5 video, this thing, so that we can each look at and learn from each of the different groups and see what we found in common and what's a little bit different in terms of that. If you have any questions about this, please email. I know it might be a little bit different because this is the one time that you are asked to work in a group throughout this. And I know working in groups suck, especially in an online course. I've done it many times, but I think there's a lot of value in this, which we'll talk about next week. So please feel free to go through that. All right, so that's module 2. That's pedagogical content knowledge of us hopefully learning the how this stuff works. We're really relying on your guys' research. Your research, but also your experiences of sharing that with one another to help you best learn the stuff. Again, any questions, email me. This is my email. Hope you guys have a great week. Sorry, I know this video was a little bit on the longer side, but I'm really excited to talk with each of you, learn more from you, and see your post. Talk to you later. Bye.